Are you dealing with pre-period spotting or maybe cycles that are less than 27-ish days long? Maybe you're already Googling low progesterone tips and still feeling kind of stuck. This episode is going to be for you because we are talking about why you have low progesterone, what the symptoms are, what it means, and what to do. So let's dive right in. I have noticed recently on Instagram that anytime I post anything about low progesterone, you guys are like eating it up, commenting on it, asking about it. And this was like a light bulb to me. Okay, this is what you're struggling with, and this is what I want to help you with. So I created the low progesterone playbook. It's going to be linked in the show notes, but it's going to walk through what progesterone is, signs and symptoms, and how to identify the pattern that's keeping you stuck in this low progesterone situation and easy steps to correct it. So it's going to give you a habit tracker, a worksheet to work on to, again, identify your pattern and know exactly what to do. So grab that in the show notes. But while we're diving into this, let's talk about what progesterone does and why it's so important and why this low progesterone situation is such kind of a booger to be dealing with. That's such a country thing to say, isn't it? A booger to be dealing with. But progesterone is so important because it's what really supports implantation. It's what makes for a nice, healthy uterus for an egg to implant in and stay there and nuzzle in and stick. So that's why sometimes we see early recurrent miscarriages if we don't have that thick, good progesterone lining. It also calms the nervous system. So we see that I call progesterone like the Zen hormone. It's the one that makes you feel good. It's calming. It's like chill. So when we don't have enough of it, we tend to see things like anxiety and more of like that wired and tired feeling. It also balances estrogen. So estrogen and progesterone are kind of buddies and they try to stay together, but if one gets too high, it pushes the other one down. And so a lot of the times you hear the expression balance your hormones, we're really talking about estrogen and progesterone mainly because when they get imbalanced, we see issues. It also maintains a healthy luteal phase, which is that phase between ovulation to conception or your period. So we really want that to be long enough to sustain a pregnancy. Because again, if the egg is coming down, it's been implanted, it's been fertilized and it's coming to implant, but your period is already like starting and sloughing off, then it can't hang in there. It can't stay long enough to tell your body, hey, make more progesterone, I'm pregnant now, because your period's already starting. So we really want to lengthen that luteal phase, and that's why we want cycles that are at least 28 days long. Okay, so what are some signs and symptoms that you might have low progesterone? A lot of the things we've already talked about, and probably a lot of things you already know, but just to cover them, spotting before your period. If you have that 2 to 3 days of like light brown, light red spotting right before your period starts, that's the number one indicator of low progesterone. If you have the short luteal phase, right? We are just talking about that. If you ovulate and then you start your period like less than 14 days, then that's a short luteal phase and that's a sign of low progesterone. If you have period issues or PMS issues like really sore boobs, clotting in your period, painful periods, lots of cramping, that's a sign of higher estrogen, which typically means our progesterone is low. Um, and again, recurrent early losses. So if you are someone that is dealing with chemical pregnancies over and over again, or really early, like 4, 6 week losses, progesterone could be an issue, especially if you see all these other signs and symptoms or a handful of these signs and symptoms that together can lead you to a really big clue of why these miscarriages might be happening. Why is low progesterone the thing we want to fix with progesterone cream, right? We think we have low progesterone and we want to use progesterone cream because we think, okay, it's low, I'll add it back in. But the bigger question or the better question to ask is, why is your progesterone low in the first place? Because that's the issue, right? It's not low just randomly. It's low because something has been pushing it down, whether that's a lack of fuel, a lack of minerals, too much stress. So we have to really identify what is the thing that's causing the low progesterone and address it at the root. So if you're using a progesterone cream and you're not really seeing the benefits or that pre-period spotting disappear, it's because we're not really addressing the root. And a lot of times people will ask me like, well, what do you think about progesterone cream? And I'm fine with it. You like progesterone cream, it makes you feel better, that's okay. But we still have to address what the root problem is to fix it completely. So what can you do? You OGs that have been here a while, you already know what I'm about to say, don't you? We are going to work on our nervous system. That is the number one thing we can focus on because no matter what, it always comes back to a dysregulated nervous system. Now, what's dysregulating nervous systems or each person's nervous system can be different person to person. From one person, it can be low blood sugars, high blood sugars. It could be endocrine disrupting chemicals in their products. It could be a really hectic work schedule, but you really want to identify what is the thing in your life that's causing the most disruption to your nervous system. And think very plainly, like think, okay, what does a normal day look like for me? I get up, I rush to work, I don't eat breakfast. There's one. I work crazy hours and don't get enough sleep. There's one. I work night shift. There's one. Me and my husband are not doing well because we're not communicating well. There's one. I skip meals because I'm too busy. There's one. Like I could go on and on and on, and the list goes on and on. But I really want you to think of it that way. Like, what is the thing that is stressing my nervous system the most, creating more cortisol, which is therefore making progesterone be low. And again, I have the low progesterone playbook for you. It's in the show notes. But the thing that's really cool about this ebook and what I'm so excited about because I feel like it made it so tangible, and you know I love really tangible tips, is it's going to address the four patterns, the four main patterns that I see over and over and over again in my clients, and which one you fall into so you know exactly what to do. So it's going to give you, hey, here's a description of the pattern. Here are the symptoms you might be experiencing. Here's exactly what to do about it. And then, like I said, I'm going to have a worksheet in there that you can fill out, kind of add any notes you want to your start date, because we're really going to focus on this for at least 30 days. You know, I like 9 months more. If you really want to see change from lifestyle habits and supplements, you give it 90 days of consistent effort, not perfect effort, but consistent effort, and you'll see the improvements. You'll see that spotting go away. But we want to identify it, make a plan, and stick to it. So I have a 30-day habit tracker in there because it's just, if you're like me, it's so fun to check stuff off. I really get a dopamine hit from checking stuff off my list. So I want you to grab that low progesterone playbook. It's going to be so easy to implement and actually make an impact. So you can understand why your progesterone's low, what it should look like, what healthy patterns should look like, the situation or pattern you're stuck in that's causing the low progesterone, and exactly what to do about it. If you have low progesterone, do not panic. We just need to understand why and address it at the root. DM me on Instagram with any questions you have, and otherwise, I love you and I will see you next week. DM me on Instagram with any questions you have, and otherwise, I love you and I will see you next week.